Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back here to Maher Media. My name is Chris Maher. I'm going to be doing a little Q&A video here. I wanted to kind of get to this a couple days ago. Had some stuff going on, so I do apologize about that. But we're here, we're recording. Let's get ready to rock and roll. So, got some questions to answer. Some fine people on Twitter, over on X, gave some questions, some good things here, just, about the team, kind of where the Flyers are going. And things like that, and also there's some stuff from TikTok as well. So let's kind of get into these. Let's kind of jump right in. So this first one comes from Sodaman, the Sodaman OG. Sodaman's a great dude. He said, TK, realistically, is it best to sign him or trade him from a long game standpoint? For me, this one was tough. Obviously, we came out with the news of Konecny wanting $10 million. And obviously that's just negotiations and that whole thing, right? I've kind of gone back and forth on this. Do I understand the side of, trade him because this is, the highest value he's probably going to be at least that's what most people think. I personally don't think that, but, I see why fans want that, right? Because the Flyers haven't necessarily, had a guy who's, at least in these past couple of years, that's not named Claude Giroux, that you could trade it at such a high value, right? So, I think it's definitely an interesting point. Do I think they trade him? No. I honestly think if they were going to trade him, they would have already. I think signing him is probably best. Now, do I think he should get a long-term deal? No. If he, obviously we reported on this, he wants to be a Flyer for the rest of his career, and that's great. I think that's awesome. And you want that. So I would say sign him. That's for me, that's the best thing. This is another one here from Sodaman. He said, I see Laughton, Atkinson, and Ristolainen as the must-move pieces in the offseason. Do you agree, or do you think others are destined for movement? It's tough. Atkinson, I understand, right? Because, everything that kind of went on with him this year. Ristolainen, I haven't really heard much of anything. There was that report at the end of the season on his injury and kind of what it was, right? And that whole thing. And then Laughton, I think if they were going to move Laughton, they would have. I think there is something to be said about that locker room and how tight it is, and just the idea of trying not to break that up because you've had such a tough time of trying to keep a good room, and the whole thing has been weeding out those guys. So if you already kind of feel like you messed that up with Walker, why would you do that with Laughton? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I see Laughton, and he obviously wants to be a Flyer. He can play through this. Atkinson, I understand. I mean, it's too much money. You're just not getting the return on the investment there. Is just not working. And Ristolainen, if you can move Risto in a hockey deal, a hockey type of trade, if it's like the Provorov trade, where it's a big package kind of deal, you could do something like that too. But one guy I wonder about is Johansson. What do they do with that contract? Is that going to get moved? Obviously, they have a bit of a logjam at wing. I don't know if they move on from Farabee. It's things that I don't think they're going to do, but it's just questions I have, right? Because there's a lot of little things that kind of, play into it. And I don't, again, like Jonesy mentioned, they're not going to be very active in free agency. I think that was pretty obvious. So it'll be interesting. This one comes from Matthew on Twitter. He said, do you think trading TK for a center like Rossi, Lundell, Casper / other high-end center prospects and possibly draft compensation would be a good move for the organization? I see where you're coming from with this. I like the idea of trying to get a center. I've kind of been tweeting that at times, and I've kind of thrown the joke of the Marty Necas thing. I would like that. I think a guy like Necas in that age range, right, and a guy who can provide offense and just be on the same kind of path as where the Flyers are at, that's ideal. I do think you could get, obviously TK could get guys like Rossi, Lundell, Casper, etc., right? Do I think they'll do it? I don't know if it'll be Konecny. I do think there's probably something in the works along those lines of trying to find a center, because they need one, right? Right now they don't have a first-line center. You don't know how much is left with well, not really how much is left, but what's going to happen with Couturier, obviously, because of, what happened with Torts and all that. Part of me does wonder with 𝐊𝐃𝐄𝐒, if he comes over, and this is also the next question as well, so it's kind of transitioning a little bit. If he comes over, do they try him at center? That's one thing I've kind of kicked around a little bit. I don't know if they will. I do think they will make a trade for a center and a younger guy. I just don't know if Konecny is the one who goes for it. I think they're going to probably be active in trades. I think they're probably going to move up in the draft. I think they're going to try and do something along the lines of kind of, trying to find guys that you can just kind of add in through the trade and in the trade market and just kind of go from there. This next one comes from UTSA Sports Enthusiast. He said, is 𝐊𝐃𝐄𝐒 coming this year? Please stop playing with our feelings. Unfortunately, I don't know. I haven't heard much on 𝐊𝐃𝐄𝐒. Honestly, I really don't know. I really hope so. I think it would be awesome. It would be sweet to see that, and it would be really, really, really exciting. And the Flyers would be, not that they weren't fun to watch last year, but they would be much more, I think, enjoyable, and more people would be tuned in and things like that. Obviously, I mean, I don't have to explain this to you. You watching this, you understand. I think 𝐊𝐃𝐄𝐒 would be great. To get him whenever is ideal. I don't know when. This next one also comes from Matthew. He said, what prospects in this coming draft would you like to see the Flyers target? 𝐊𝐃𝐄𝐒, he's one that I think would be sweet. Like, I posted the video the other day, like the skating, the stick handling, he's so creative. It's like once he gets like right past the blue line, he just says, he's just had, it's like, sometimes you watch players and like they're like a step ahead, like they know what to do the next move before they've even done the last two. You get what I'm saying? Like they move so fast. He seems like one of those guys. One of the things that I've kind of noticed is he got a little like kind of like Tyler Bertuzzi kind of esque in him. Like, I really like him. Yzerman is obviously another one. That'll be interesting. I do think that they are going to try and move up though. This next one comes from Cold Brew X. He said, is TK going to be part of this rebuild and the future? Obviously kind of answered that one a little bit. I do think Konecny is going to be part of it. There's definitely going to be something there. Nordique, this is the next one. He said, do you think Danny uses the Florida pick to maybe trade up in this draft? Yes. I do think they could move up in the draft. I think there's something there trying to maybe move up. I don't know how many spots. I don't know. I think one of the things I've thought about is maybe they use that late second, or excuse me, that late first and then a second, and try to maybe move up around like maybe near 12, maybe pick like 12 and 15 or something like that. I don't know if you need the second to do that. You may not. Maybe you do if there's players coming back that obviously could factor into. But I could definitely see it where you get something to move up. I don't know if they'll move up around maybe last year, like if they try to get around 7 again or 8, if there's someone that they like and they're maybe still there. I think everything is on the table for me. Like, I think they could do pretty much anything. This next one comes from Bubs Fury on TikTok, and it was pretty much the same one. If the Flyers move up from 12, who do you think they would target and why? Again, he's obviously that's one of the main ones for me. Do you really think Coots is a top line center and not just an elite defensive center with zero offensive upside? That one came from AS Ranchero at Brett215. It's tough for me. First half of the season, Coots was great. He came back. He saw he could play. Played some high-end minutes. I thought he played well. Second half of the season, totally different player. Obviously, there's injury stuff and Tortorella and the whole thing. The captaincy, right? I do think he is still a top 6 guy. I don't know if he is a 20-something minute a night kind of guy, and I don't know how long that more can go. I'm not going to sit here and say that like Coots can't play anymore, because that would just be dumb. But I do wonder about the longevity of it, especially with the contract. I do think there's still elite defensive parts of his game. It's just the offense obviously takes a bit. And look, I didn't think Coots was going to be, all well-rounded this year either, just because of everything that went on and just kind of getting back in the game for him. He proved he could do that, and I honestly thought that was enough. I mentioned that with the benchings and all. I do think there is something there. I don't know if he's a first-line guy. At least not in the long term, I will say. I do think short term, like, could he play in a pinch? Obviously. Like, I still think he's a legit player for that. It's just long term is how I kind of view that. This one comes from 𝐅𝐿𝐷 on Twitter. He said, Farabee, Tippett, TK, Michkov, Forrester. You have 5 top 6 wingers next year. If Michkov comes over, let's pretend he does. You need to trade one of these guys for a top 6 center or picks to get one. Who are you trading and why? It's probably my favorite question of the bunch. Farabee, Konecny, Tippett, Michkov, Forrester. I'm trading one of them for a top line center. I gotta think about that. That is hard. Probably Konecny, if it's out of those guys. Like, I don't want to trade TK, right? I obviously have said that. But if you put it that way, I get it. It's either Konecny or Tippett. Like, I like, obviously Farabee, I think. But if you're trying to get a top, like, I don't think Farabee is the guy that gets you a top 6 center. So that's why I go Konecny, Tippett. Michkov, Forrester, obviously you're not trading them. It's got to be TK. Like, out of that mix, I'd love Tage Thompson. I mean, he doesn't really fit the age mold or anything, but oh my God, like, to watch, you know, modern day Mario Lemieux, as everyone likes to call him, like, that would be sweet. I don't know, maybe Jordan Kyrou with the Blues. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. It's a really tough question. It's a good question. I would do TK for Thompson. That's definitely one that I would try. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree with that one. Konecny for Thompson, and if you just for, obviously it's not gonna happen. I'm just just for argument's sake. And that's pretty much it. That's all the questions we got. Thanks everybody again for obviously submitting those, and always good to kind of sit down, answer everybody's questions. You guys kind of pick my brain a little bit and kind of see where I'm at. Yeah, thanks everybody again for, as always, for all the support, and yeah, talk to you guys soon. See you guys.